Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Davis and welcome to this second instalment in my video series on implementing my 7-step business presentation planner. If you do not have a copy of the planner already, jump onto jeremymarkdavis.com/planner and grab a copy of it there. And what you would have noticed from looking at the planner just then, and hopefully the copy that you've got handy, is that this first part we're going to talk about, which is the beginning part of the presentation, a lot of that is highlighted in red, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that typically people's levels of attention are very high at the beginning of a presentation, and secondly, it's a really important time for us to make a great first impression. Normally in those early moments of a presentation, people are pretty quickly making some decisions about what this presentation is going to be like and how much they actually want to tune into this stuff. So therefore we want to begin strongly. And it's with that in mind that what I would say to you is that the single most important thing that must appear in every business presentation, and it needs to be somewhere right up the front, is a stated purpose. Now, a stated purpose is the reason that we state to the audience as to why we're giving the presentation. To say it's a Tuesday morning meeting and I normally get up and say a few words at the start of the meeting, or my managers ask me to get up and discuss a couple of bits and bobs, simply are not adequate reasons for a purpose. We absolutely must be fairly and squarely focused on giving value to the audience in our stated purpose, or if you want to put it in other words, the what's in it for them, what's in it for the audience type factor. Having thought about this for a while to find a way that's going to allow people to do that really quickly and easily, the formula I would like to suggest to you is to put your stated purpose in terms of the purpose of my presentation today is to help you to fill in the blank so that you can fill in the blank. And what that's going to do is get you focusing on what it is you're helping the audience to do, to help you to, and why that would be of importance to the audience so that you can. So, for example, if you're giving a presentation on, let's say, OH&S, then the purpose of the presentation could be to help you to understand the latest occupational health and safety information so that you can avoid injury or death to you or your colleagues. You don't have to use those exact words and phrases. You're probably not giving a presentation on OH&S anyway. And sometimes you will need to ask the question as to why this stuff would be important to the audience a number of times to really get down to a level that is going to have sufficient power. But if you do that and you use that formula I just mentioned, you're going to set yourself up with a very strong stated purpose. And ultimately, whatever words or phrases you want to use with the formula or without the formula is up to you, but make 100% sure that very early in the presentation, everybody who's in the audience understands exactly how this presentation content is going to be of value to them. That's the most important thing with the stated purpose. Now, from the stated purpose, what we want to do is we want to move into the next component, which is the overview. And within the overview, we're of course providing people an overview of what it is they can expect in the presentation. When you're doing the overview, I reckon somewhere between 2 and 5 points is the right number of things to be covering in the overview section. If there's only one thing you're talking about, then clearly you don't need to provide an overview of that thing. Just go in and start talking about it. Sometimes you will see presentations that have more than 5 points in the overview, and if you've ever been in the audience for a presentation like that, it's a bit of a case of information overload. So 5 should really be the absolute maximum, and in fact there's a real power in 3 points in your overview. So very often it's just a matter of thinking about how you can condense up and package up the different themes you're going to be talking about in the presentation, ideally to come up with that magic number of 3 points in your overview. One other point I'll make on the overview is when you do provide the overview of the audience, make sure that you provide some little snippets of information about each of those points you're going to be covering to really whet the appetite and build excitement of people in the audience about what you're going to be talking about. So rather than just say, I'm going to be talking about 1, 2, and 3, let people know, hey, the first thing I'm going to be talking about today is 1, and I know that's going to be a lot of value for the people in the audience today because of blah, blah, blah. Then I'll be talking about number 2, and this stuff's really critical because of blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And then the final thing that we want to cover in this beginning section of the presentation is the housekeeping side of things. Now, the sequence here is really important. For most presentations that you've probably been to in the past, any housekeeping type of stuff can go at the very start of the presentation. And that's a pretty boring way to start a presentation. It's a good way to get people tuning out and not really very engaged in the presentation. And this is why I'm suggesting you begin with a very strong stated purpose. You back that up with this lovely overview where you're highlighting key bits of information that people are going to be interested in, and then you come and clear out any of these housekeeping issues very quickly. The only exception to that rule would be if there is something that absolutely must, you feel, be covered immediately at the start, you can feel free to very quickly tick that off. So for example, if you're worried that somebody's mobile phone is going to ring off in the middle of your wonderfully crafted stated purpose, you might want to make a note about phones before you go into the rest of it. But with that exception out of the way, all the other housekeeping things will go towards the end. So that's really everything you need to know about doing a great beginning section of your presentation. And what I'll be doing in the third and final video is talking about the things you need to cover off in the middle and the ending component of your presentation.